Well, good evening. We're going to be doing weathering notes. This is in Chapter 10, Section 1 of your book. First, we want to make sure we understand what weathering is. And weathering is the process by which rock materials are broken down by the action of physical or chemical processes. So we have two different kinds of weathering. That's physical and chemical. So we're going to look at each one separately. But the important thing to remember is that weathering is the breaking down of rock. It's taking rock and breaking it into smaller pieces. So mechanical weather is the breaking down of rock into smaller pieces by a physical means. So we're going to look at 5 ways that we have mechanical weathering, and if you look down through your notes, you'll see 1 through 5 is in italics and underlined. So number 1 is when you have freezing and thawing, and this makes the rocks expand and contract, causing cracks. So the water seeps into the cracks when it's a liquid. When it freezes, it expands. That causes the crack to get a little bit larger. It will melt and run out, and now you have a larger crack. And when that happens over and over again, the crack continues to grow, breaking the rock up. This also happens on roads. Number 2 is abrasion. Abrasion is the grinding and wearing away of rock, like it's rubbing against another surface. Sometimes this happens with sand. You've probably been to the beach when the wind has blown sand against your leg and it hurts. You can feel that sand hitting your leg. Well, if that sand were to hit other rock material, then that would be an abrasion or wearing down. Continuing with mechanical weathering, we have wind, water, and gravity. Wind blows sand against the rock, so we kind of have two sides of that sand against the rock. Wind causes that to happen. Water can roll pebbles against the bottom of the rivers or stream, and that's kind of an abrasion process also. Will help to smooth the rocks or pebbles. And then also gravity. Gravity can cause rocks to fall, and when they fall, they can break, or they can break the rocks that they fall on top of. But many things can get broken there. All right, number 4 are plants. Now this is an interesting one, perhaps you have seen, like in the picture to the right, where roots actually grow into a rock and can crack the rock. As the root grows, it cracks the rock a little bit more. Now animals can burrow through the soil and loosen rock and break rock up. And you can see there's a mole living in the ground. Sometimes this can be done by much smaller animals like insects. Now we're getting ready to move on to chemical weathering. And chemical weathering is the breaking down of material due to a chemical reaction. And we also have 5 types of chemical reaction. So we can see that water can dissolve minerals. We saw that in our class when we dissolved salt, halite, with water. And we talked about it when that water solution, mineral solution, helps to form sedimentary rocks. If you look at the picture down below on the left, you can see how water dissolves the minerals in the Earth's rock layers, creating a cave. Number 2 is acid precipitation. Acid can dissolve rocks, and that's very much a problem in areas where there is a lot of manufacturing and factories. We don't have that so much in our area. Number 3 is groundwater acid. It dissolves rock underground, creating caves. So we can see that particularly for the groundwater, it creates caves. Number 4, we have acids in living things like lichen, mosses, that produce an acid that helps to dissolve the rock or the tree. And then the last one is oxidation caused by air. And you can see a picture there where we have water and the oxygen in the air cause a chemical reaction. So we've just looked at 5 different types of weathering, and we'll be looking at examples of those in class actually on Wednesday. Now we have a way that rock is weathered. It's called differential weathering, and that really just means that rock can weather at different rates. So softer rock is going to wear away and leave harder rock behind. Softer rock is going to wear away faster. An example of that is the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. If you follow my arrow, this is what used to be there, the volcano. And all of that rock here has weathered and eroded away. It's moved away. And all you have left out there now is this very large tower that is the remains of the volcanic event. So that has definitely weathered away at different rates. We can see Stone Mountain also there in the picture. And all of this area around Stone Mountain, we've talked about this before, used to cover Stone Mountain. So everything that was on top of the mountain has now weathered and eroded away, but still leaving the hard granite to be visible. Now the shape of the rock can also affect the way that it is eroding. Larger the surface area, so if you have a large surface area, the faster the weathering is going to break down the rock, because there's more surface there to break down and being exposed. Also, smaller fragments can break down faster than larger fragments. So as rock starts breaking down, it's easier for the smaller pieces to continue breaking down. We also have weather and climate affect the rate of weathering. So it creates a differential weathering. Now, chemical weathering happens faster in warm climates where it's humid, a lot of moisture in the air for oxidation, that rusting. But in cold climates, ice wedging causes weathering to occur faster. And we'll talk more about the wedging and in class. And here you can see kind of water seeping down into the ground and causing it to break. Now weathering changes at elevation also. So you can see the very tall mountain there with the snow and the ice on it. Mountains are exposed to a lot of air. They have slopes and also a lot of water running down the side of the mountain. Rocks at the top experience more wind, rain, and ice and will weather faster. Also, the steepness of the mountains create faster weathering because the water runs down the mountain faster and carries sediment with it. Also, we have a lot of rocks falling and breaking, and gravity was one reason that we have weathering. So that also happens more on the mountains. Now that does conclude our notes for this evening, and you'll see there are some review questions. You're welcome to go ahead and try those, but we will work on those also in class. And will become a homework assignment after we talk about this in class. All right, have a good evening.